Can you solve the world's most evil wizard riddle? The evil wizard Moldiver has been trying to kill you for years, and today it looks like he's going to succeed. But your friends are on the way, and if you can survive until they arrive, they should be able to help stop him. The evil wizard's protective charms were off every spell you know. So, in an act of desperation, you throw the only object in reach at him, Perfegrace's cursed chessboard. It works, but with a catch. Both of us start in one corner of the 5-5 board. You have a few minutes to choose four distinct positive whole numbers. Both of us get to say one of them, and if you can pick up square on a board whose center is exactly that distance away, the cards will force him to move in that spot. Then he will have to choose any of the four numbers, and the process repeats until you keep him inside the board with the legal moves. Then he will break free of a spell and almost certainly kill you. What four number can you choose to keep Mobile trapped by yourself long enough for help your life? And what's your strategy? The trick here is to keep Moldiver where you want him, and one way to figure out how to do that is to play out the game as Moldiver would, always trying to escape. You are dealing with relatively small board, so the number can be too big. Let's start by trying 1, 2, 3, 4 to see what happens. Moldiver could escape those numbers in just 3 moves by saying 2, then 3. He would force you to let him into one of the middle point of the grid, and then a 4 would break him free. But that means you will need to allow a number larger than 4, which is distance from one end of a row to another. How is that even possible? Through diagonal move. There are in fact points that are distance 5 and each other, which we know thanks to the Pythagorean theory. That state the square of the side of a right triangle add up the square of its hypotenuse. One of the most famous Pythagorean triples is 3, 4, 5, and that triangle is hiding all over your chessboard. So if Moldiver was here and is at 5, you could move him to these spaces. There's another insight that will help. The board is very symmetrical. If Moldiver is a corner, it doesn't really matter to use which corner it is. So we can think of the corner as being functionally the same and colored than all blue. Similarly, the space neighboring the corner behave the same as each other, while we like them red. Finally, the midpoint of the side are a third type, so instead of having to develop strategies for each of 16 spaces on the outside of the board, we can reduce problem to just 3. Meanwhile, all the inside spaces are bad for us because Moldiver ever reaches 1, he will able to say any number larger than 3 and go free. Orange spaces are trouble too since any number except 1, 2, or 4 would take him to an inside space of the board. So orange is out and you will need to keep hand on blue and red. That means 2 is bad since it could make Moldiver to orange on a first turn. But the 4 other smallest numbers 1, 3, 4, and 5 might work. Let's try it and see what happens. If Moldiver says 1, you can make him go for blue to red or red to blue, and the same work if you say 3. Thanks to our diagonal, this is even true if he says 5. If he says 4, you can keep him on the color he's already on by moving the length of the row or color. So these 4 numbers work. Even if your friends don't get here right away, you will be able to keep the world's most evil wizard contained for as long you need. This is another TED Talk. Insulin pumps improve lives many 450 million people with diabetes around the world by monitoring blood sugar, delivering insulin, and preventing the need for constant fingerprinting blood testing. These small machines include a pump and needle, which consense glucose level, feedback to the pump, and then calculate how much insulin is to deliver through the needle. But they have a catch: that temporary. Within a few days, glucose sensors have to move and replace. And it's not just glucose monitors and insulin pumps that have this problem, but all body implants are different time scale. Plastic processing needs have to replace after about 20 years. Other implants, such as those used for cosmetic reasons, can meet the same feat in about 10. But that is the reason it can be expensive and risky. This inconvenience happens because of body immune systems. Honed by several hundred million years of evolution, this defense response becomes exceptionally good identifying foreign objects. Our immune system boasts an impressive alternate tool to tackle, intersect, and destroy anything they believe should be threat. But the consequence of this constant surveillance is our body free helpful implants like insulin pumps, with the same species as would a harmful virus or bacteria. As soon as insulin pump has been planted in the skin, its presence triggers what's known as the foreign body response. These start with a free-floating protein that stick themselves to the surface of the implant. Those proteins include antivirus, which attempt to neutralize the new object and send out signals that call other immune cells to side to strengthen the attack. Early expanding inflammatory cells like neutrophils and macrophages respond to emergency call. Neutrophils release little granules filled with enzymes that try to break down surface of the insulin pump's needle. Macrophages secrete enzyme too, together with nitric oxide radical, which create a chemical reaction that degrades the object over time. If the macrophages are unable to dispatch the foreign body directly, they fuse together, forming a mass of cells called a giant cell. At the same time, cells called fibroblasts travel to the site and begin to deposit layers of dense connective tissue. Those include the needle that the pump uses to deliver insulin and test for glucose levels. Over time, this scaffolding builds up, forming a scar around the implant. The scar functions as an almost impenetrable wall that might start to block vital interactions between the body and the implant. For example, scarring around the pacemaker can interrupt the electrical transmission that's crucial for their functioning. Synthetic needle joints may give up particles as they wear down, causing immune cells to inflame around this fragment. Likely, the immune system attack that can even be life-threatening. However, researchers find a way to trick the immune system into accepting the new devices we introduce into our body tissues. We discovered that coating implants with certain chemical and drug conduct the immune response. Those basically make the implants invisible to the immune system. We're also making more implants out of natural materials in the form of directly mimic tissues, though this biology is a weak effect that would if it came across completely artificial impact. Some medical treatments involve implants designed to regenerate lots of damaged tissues. In those cases, we can design the implants to contain ingredients that will release specific signals and carefully tailor our body's immune reactions. In the future, this way of working alongside the immune system could help us develop completely artificial organs, totally integrated pathology, and self-healing wound therapy. These treatments might one day revolutionize medicine and transform forever the bodies we live in. Again, your body and implant. Insulin pumps improve the lives of many of the 450 million people with diabetes around the world by monitoring blood sugar, delivering insulin, by preventing the need for constant fingerprinted blood testing. These small machines include a pump and needle, which can sense glucose levels, feed back to the pump, and then calculate how much insulin to deliver through the needle, but they have to catch. That's temporary. Within a few days, glucose sensors have to be moved and replaced. And it's not just glucose monitors and insulin pumps that have this problem, but the old body implants at different time scale. Plastic prosthetic knees have to be replaced after about 20 years. Other implants, such as those used for cosmetic reasons, can reach the same fit at about 10. That is just a nuisance. It can be expensive and risky. These inconveniences happen because of our body immune systems. Homed by several hundred million years evolution, this defensive front becomes exceptionally good identifying foreign objects. Our immune system boasts impressive arsenal tools to tackle, intercept, and destroy anything they believe should be there. But the consequence of this constant vigilance is our body treats healthy implants like insulin pumps with the same species as would a harmful virus or a bacteria. As soon as insulin pump starts implants the skin, its presence triggers what's known as foreign body response. These start with a free-floating protein that stick themselves to the surface of the implant. Those proteins include antibodies, which attempt to neutralize the new object. They send out the signal they call other immune systems to side to strengthen attack. Early responding inflammatory cells like neutrophils, macrophages, respond to the emergence call. Neutrophils release electric granules filled with enzymes that try to break down the surface of insulin pump needle. Macrophages secrete enzyme too, together with nitric oxide radical, which create a chemical reaction that degrades the objects over time. If the macrophages are unable to disinfect the foreign body rapidly, they fuse together, forming a massive cell called a giant cell. At the same time, cells called fibroblasts travel to the site and begin to deposit layers of dense connective tissues. Those include the needle that the pump uses to deliver insulin and tests for glucose level. Over time, this scar builds up, forming a scar around the implant. The scar functions as an almost impenetrable wall that might start to block vital interactions between the body and the implant. For example, scarring around the pacemaker can interrupt the electron transmission that's crucial for our function. Synthetic needles may give up particles as they are worn down, causing immune cells to inflame around this fragment. Directly, the immune system attack can even be life-threatening. However, researchers are finding ways to trick the immune system into accepting new devices we introduce in our body tissues. We discovered the coating implants get certain chemical drugs can dumb down the immune response. Those basically make the implants invisible to the immune system. We also make more implants out of natural material and inform they rightly mimic tissues, so that the body launches a weak attack that would it came across the completely artificial implant. Some medical treatments involve implants designed to regenerate lost or damaged tissues. In those cases, we can design the implants to contain the ingredient that will release specific signal and carefully tailor our body's immune reactions. In the future, this way of working alongside the immune system could help us develop completely artificial organs, totally integrated processes, and self-healing wound therapy. These treatments might one day revolutionize medicines and transform forever the bodies we live in.